Hello, my loves, and welcome to another episode of the Luxe and Leverage podcast. Your host here, Michelle Hext. I hope you are doing well. It is actually Sunday morning here, and I've snuck into my office a day early. Dave has been away for the weekend and he is coming back shortly. And I just felt inspired to get in here. I'm still in my pajamas and I've been doing a lot of deep thinking and reflecting over the last couple of days, which is always my favorite thing to do when I have the house to myself. And just now I was sitting down with my journal and was unpacking a few things and thought this is a perfect topic to speak to you about today. And I want to talk to you about that whole concept of, and I can't remember exactly the words that or the phrase that it goes with, but it's something along the lines of you can live 10 years or you can live, you know what I'm trying to say? It's like you can live the same year for 10 years or you can live 10 years. And the meaning behind it is that you can go through the motions year after year after year and then realize a decade in that you've lived the same year over and over and over again. And that was me. And from the outside looking in, it probably did not look that way because I am ever evolving, but I was evolving within the same set of circumstances, right? I was looking at a new offer or a new way to market or a new way to do this thing or new way of branding things. Like I was looking for new ways to do the stuff that I've always done. And yeah, there were breakthrough years and there were, a lot of highs for sure. And there was progress made. There is no doubt about it. But I was still creating success within the same set of circumstances and limitations. And I saw that quote. It was a while ago now. I'd say it was well over a year ago. And I remember just thinking, fuck, I think that's me. I think that if I look over the last 10 years, yeah, absolutely, there's been progress, blah, 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 right? I've learned a lot, all those things. But it's like essentially, though, it's been the same year. I've had the same sorts of goals. I do the same sorts of things. I launch the same sorts of offers. Things really weren't that different. And it shook me a little bit because I don't know, there was just something about that because I'm somebody who is excited by change. I'm excited by the next vision. I'm excited by creating new things, right? And it's like, yeah, and you've been doing that, but within the same kind of set of circumstances. And so it really got me thinking, wow, do I want to live the same year again next year? And what would make it different? And for me, it's not about more money or more clients or anything like that. That I'd had so many experiences of massive increases in that over the years. And it just has stopped becoming thrilling for me because it's kind of expected these days. And so I knew it wasn't about those things. And for well over a decade, it was about those things. It was like, let's try and, if I earn this much this year, let's try and, or not even try, but let's make this much next year. Let's do this, let's do that, let's whatever, right? And I did not want to do that again. I couldn't do it again. I was at a point where I was so over myself and so bored that there was just not a chance for me to be able to do those things, to have the same goals. I could not make myself set the same sorts of goals again. Same goals, same areas of my life. And yeah, it was like a rinse and repeat. And we didn't come here to do that. I know I certainly didn't, but it's kind of sneaky, right? When you're making progress, you're under the illusion that you are making progress, right? When you're under the illusion that you're experiencing something different, but it's not. It's more of the same. And I don't know about you, but I didn't come here for that. I came here to squeeze every little bit of juice out of life. And with my illness, I don't even like to call it an illness. Like it's, what is it? Like with my diagnosis, right? I haven't had the same levels of energy, but I've been doing some deep diving and some exploring and looking at it, because when I look at this next vision, when I look at where I'm going, I need more energy and it's got to be non-negotiable. And my CLL definitely has taken taken the fire out of my energy. And I just remember thinking, this is just not acceptable. And then, of course, we're not ready to start treatment yet. So it's like, well, this is kind of life. And luckily, I work with a very amazing trainer who had me go and do a bunch of blood work just to have a look at everything. We wanted to have a look at everything. So I ordered some private blood tests, went and had it done, got my results back. And I could see that my testosterone was virtually zero. And one of the what's it called? One of the symptoms of that is low energy. And I was fully, so I'm postmenopausal. I became menopausal by the time I was 50 and didn't really need anything. I did that very, very well. I used Chinese medicine and kind of sailed through it. And so in my mind, I just kind of thought I was over the hump and that was done, and that this exhaustion is related to the CLL. And CLL, that is one of the symptoms for sure. But as I got this blood test back and I had a look at the testosterone, and then I went and started Googling what those symptoms were, it's like, oh, fuck. What if even a third of my exhaustion is due to that? Wow. And I got excited about it, because for me, it's not like I don't know, it wasn't anything other than pure excitement, because I thought, oh, we can fix this. This is something we can fix. And so I immediately made an appointment. I'm going to go see somebody tomorrow to start to talk about HRT. I don't want to hear your opinions, guys. I make my own decisions. I do my own research, et cetera, et cetera. And so even though I'm postmenopausal and have been for quite a lot of years, I also know that there's a window of starting HRT within 10 years of menopause. It's a good thing. And I've been chatting with a friend of mine who is really educated on this stuff. I sent her my bloods and said, look at this. And she said, that's exactly where mine were when I was your age. And then I went on HRT, and she swears by it. And I know everybody's different. Everybody has a different experience, blah, blah, blah. But I was so excited because in my mind, I'd already made the decision. This next year, this next 12 months was not going to be a rinse and repeat of the last fucking decade. It's just not going to be. And one of the non-negotiable requirements was I need more energy. I need more energy. And then this showed up, and it's given me something to go and dive into. And I know it's going to make a difference. I just know it is. And that's so exciting to me. And so let's just talk about that last decade, right, of rinse and repeat. And if you are a woman, and I know men have challenges, but I'm speaking as a woman because I am one. I'm speaking as a woman because of the conversations that I have with other women around me, midlife women. And I look back at that last year and that last decade, sorry, and so much happened. So the end of 2012, I left my last marriage, and then I moved, and then I moved again, and then I started the relationship that I'm in now. I'd actually had another relationship in between, but not worth talking about that. But then I eventually met Dave and, moved over here closer to the city, and like a lot of different things were happening. I was traveling a lot. But aside from all of those things, I was also dealing with my children and their significant mental health challenges. So my daughter has had an eating disorder. since about 13. She spent a lot of time in hospital. My son was going through his own mental health battles, and it was a fucking lot. It was a lot. The heaviness, so many amazing things were happening in my life. My business was taking off. I was moving somewhere. I was in this relationship, blah, blah, blah. But it was debilitating to me being so worried about my kids every single day. And that went on for quite a number of years. And, things are looking really great with my kids now, and they have for a little while. But, I would say it was a good 5 or 6 years where I was in the thick of it. There was 3 years when it was like I was just constantly, my cortisol levels, I dread to think about what they were like. I was just a walking open wound, and everything stressed me out because I didn't have much of a buffer, right? I was just so stressed all the time, so worried all the time, so anxious all the time about my kids. And here I am trying to grow this business. And when I look back, it's like so much of that decade was in survival mode. And I don't mean survival in my business because my business was doing well, but I mean survival mode in terms of me managing this. And then it was just a lot, right? And we're a few years clear of that now. And I've looked at that. I've looked at, well, why did I live the same decade twice? And it was like, I don't know, imagine you're walking along a tightrope or a balancing beam. Let's just not make it so dramatic. And you've got to get from one end to the other, right? You're on the balancing beam. You're, I don't know, a meter off the ground, and you've just got to get from here to there. That's all it is, right? The path is clear. You know what you've got to do. You know the steps. Like I've just one step forward and the next step forward. Use your arms for balance. So it's like that's entrepreneurship, right? And then imagine that someone comes along with a big freaking, I don't know, like imagine just a big soft spongy like bat, and they're whacking you. So you're trying to walk along this beam that's already a little precarious, and you're just being pummeled by things as you're trying to go along, right? So you fall off and you have to go back to the start, and you've got to start walking again, or you're halfway down and you fall off and you've got to climb back up, and it takes a bit of effort to get back up. And then you start walking again to the end, to the other side of the beam, and then you get whacked again and you fall off again. It's like, that's what it felt like. And it comes to mind, I don't know the name of the show, but in the 70s, there was this show where, what the hell was it called? But I remember watching it maybe on a Sunday afternoon, and it was like it was obstacle courses, and I'm just seeing it like people are walking along a beam and then they're being thrown off, or yeah. Anyway, I'm sure we've all, wherever you live in the world, I'm sure you recognize that show format. And so that's what it felt like. And now, the last few years, I've been able to pretty much walk that beam from one end to the other without really being whacked off, right? That didn't sound good. When my diagnosis came about in 2023, I just kept going. And, as time went on and my energy levels kept depleting, it started to have an impact, but I could still keep moving forward. It was just a little bit slower, but I could still keep moving forward. And so I know now how to get from one end to the other. And even if things come and try to knock me off, because I lived through hell with my kids, nothing will ever be that challenging ever again. Nothing is ever going to be as challenging as worrying if your kids are going to be with you anymore, because they just don't want to be on this planet anymore. And nothing's ever going to be as stressful or as challenging or as debilitating as that. And so, a launch that doesn't quite go right, a client that maybe is a little bit problematic or whatever, right? Those things just do not rattle me at all. And as I was journaling this morning, this word came up. It actually came up yesterday, and I locked it in yesterday. I'm a fan of setting a word of the year. Am I the person that honors that word of the year all year round religiously, or am I the person that sets the word of the year and then 3 months later go, oh yeah, I had a word of the year? That's kind of me. But it's fine, right? Because it serves its purpose, and it just locks something in. It gives me another gear, and away I go. And you want to know what that word was? It is undaunted. I was sitting there as I was journaling and thinking about the upcoming 12 months and the things that I have on my list to achieve, my projects for the next 12 months. They're big, they're massive. They are so massive. They are going to require a whole other identity. They're going to require so much more from me than what this does. And I went through a period of time, a very short period of time where it's like, okay, cool. So we have to lock in this new identity. We have to really be clear on who this person is. How is she operating? How is she thinking? How is she making her decisions? You know, what does all of this look like? And that's really clear to me. I don't have any issues around that. I feel like I'm embodying that person right now in every thought, every decision, every belief, every move I make feels very locked in. And as I was looking at the things that I'm launching over the next 12 months, I was sitting there and just a thought came to me and it's like, I'm so undaunted by all of it. And I thought, a lot of people would find this very, very daunting. There are not too many people that would take on what I'm about to take on. And the word stuck. It was like, yeah, I am undaunted. And that is the theme for the next 12 months because business is a bit of a roller coaster, right? Some things are going to, be like a knife through butter. It's just going to be so smooth. And then other times I'm going to be hit with some challenges. And if I can lean into being undaunted, because I know that there is a solution to every problem, I know I'm a problem solver. And I know now how to navigate those upper limit situations. So even last week, like all week, I was so irritable and so pissed off and so short fused and frustrated in my whole being. And I just went into Chat GPT and I'm like, I'm pissed off at the world. Everything's shitting me to tears. I can't focus. There's nothing that I feel inspired, blah, blah, blah. And I had a big rant. And I said, is this an upper limit? And they're like, it certainly is an upper limit. And it's like, oh yeah, it is. And I didn't need the verification from ChatGPT. It just felt good to type it all in there and have a bit of a bleh, better than a therapist. And so I did that and came away going, oh, yeah, that's all this is. It's growing pains. It's just that ugly in between. It's the part where I see the vision. I'm embodying that person right now. I think like all of that is in place and it hasn't played out yet in real time. I'm struggling, not on my podcast, but on my social media. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I can't talk about selling coaching offers anymore. I can't do, like, what am I talking about? And so there's been this kind of disconnect between me and my community because I know who I am now and I know what that looks like and I know where I'm going. And I'm struggling to, every time I sit down to type something, it's like, what do I want to say? And it's just a different era for me, right? Because I usually, when I'm making moves, everybody knows about it. Like I'm pretty good with taking people along for the ride, letting people know what I'm doing, getting excited about it. But I feel like I'm in this era of, it's not stealth mode, but it's quiet power. It's quiet. And I know what I'm doing. I'm making those moves. The energy feels so, so big. And I just don't necessarily know that I owe anybody anything to show up. But then I'm in this tussle because part of me is very much the person that always likes to show up and lead by example. I've always done that. And it's like, well, that's what you always did. So and then we had this decade in the middle where you're talking about selling offers. And, I'm still going to talk about my offers. There's no doubt about that. But it's like, it's almost like I'm so beyond that now. I'm so out of those weeds and in the, how blue ocean, red ocean, I'm in the blue ocean. And I look back and when I go back and start to talk about coaching offers and things like that, I see the red ocean. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that, but it's still part of what I do. So I'm still figuring that out. That is still coming together. And that's just the communication side of it, right? There is no conflict internally. I'm very clear. I'm very grounded. I'm very relaxed and at ease about where I'm going and what I want to do. Very undaunted at the whole prospect of it. And I will continue to work on how do I want to show up. So this morning I just went and rebranded my YouTube channel back to my name, because it's going to be more about the founder's journey. It's going to be more about conversations about things other than business. I'm going to be talking about my HRT journey. I'm going to be talking about hiring, the right people to help me launch. I will be hiring a COO and a CFO at some point in the next 12 months. And it's like, I'll be talking about that. So it's more high level conversation, but real conversation. I don't want to be, this is really, I don't like to poo-poo on anybody. I do not. That is not what I'm here for. But I look at the Layla Hormozis and people like that online, and good for them, like good for them. But that's not how I want to do things. I'm not interested in being that. I don't know. What am I trying to say? There is a way that I show up and share things, and I don't want to do it any differently to what feels like showing up and sharing what I feel like is going to be valuable information, or reflecting on some shifts that I've made, or reflecting on whatever, right? I don't know. The performance side of any social media just does my head in. And so I've been sitting here thinking, okay, this communication puzzle thing is coming to head now, because I am going to be relaunching my YouTube channel, and I'm going to be showing up as like the founder, not as a mentor and high ticket coach, like none of those things. And so it's getting to the pointy end of it, because I'm going to, I've spoken to you about the moves that we've made with the podcast. That is locked in now. Things are happening. It's amazing. Next year, the focus is going to be to do the same with my YouTube channel. And I want it to be as organic as this podcast is. I don't want it to be a performance. I don't want it to be chasing some fucking algorithm to get the likes and the views and all the rest of it. I don't want it to be like that. And so I've been having conversations with teams who are like, don't ask me to be any different, but package it and do whatever the fuck you have to do to grow this channel, because I've had it since 2009 and nothing's really happened with it. So, because it hasn't been a focus. And so now I have to get undaunted about that. Like that would be the one thing that feels a little daunting, because I'm looking at these different people that are on YouTube, and it's so interesting, right? I often relate to men on YouTube more than I do the women, because the women come across as just trying to be so masculine. And like I have a lot of masculine energy. But from the women, I don't know. I'm putting feminism back fucking 100 years, aren't I? But it feels like it just feels like it's not me. It feels uncomfortable. It feels too harsh or something like that for me. It's like that is not the pool that I want to swim in. But when I look at a lot of the men that are, doing channels similar to the ones that I'm going to be doing, they're the softer men, right? They're not like soft men, but they're like the more aware, conscious, but still very direct. Like I like straight shooting, no bullshit, no fluff and mirrors, right? And I also feel like my superpower is in my age. And I know that, the wealth is in our wisdom, right? As we come to these later years of our lives, or, when we're beyond our 30s, when we're beyond our 20s, and we're moving into we're well into our 40s and 50s, our wealth is in our wisdom. And I want that to be what is the most important part of that channel, because I'm not going to try to compete with somebody who has, partner with somebody and, made a $500 billion and I don't know, there's just so much bullshit and I can't be a part of it. And so it's going to be conversations like this. It's not going to be a fancy set. It's not going to be because I won't do it. That's the other thing about being older, right? You get to know, it's like, yeah, it seems like a good idea to have a set and to do this and do it like that. And it's like, but will I do it? And it's like, not easily. So I'll find excuses and there's a good chance I'll be inconsistent because I'm going to have to battle myself to show up. And that's not how I want to operate. I want to make it easy. And I also want a role model for people that it does get to be easy, right? Just like this podcast, no intro, no outro, just me and my mic, away we go. And it's going to be the same thing for the YouTube channel because it has to be, otherwise it won't work. And I want a role model that you don't have to have anything fancy. You've just got to have your strong opinions and your wisdom and know how to share that with people in a way that moves them to take action. And when I say take action, I don't mean to buy stuff, but it's like have them take action on their desires and their dreams and move forward. And so that was a bit of a mishmash of everything, but I feel like I've said all I need to say. But when I was writing yesterday and Undaunted came to me, it's like that is my superpower. You can put any mountain in front of me and I know how big the mountain is. I know what it's going to take. And I'm completely fucking undaunted by it. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's go. And that's how I've always been. That's how I will continue to be. And as I saw that from a different perspective yesterday, for some reason, that thought of, a lot of people would be actually daunted by this. And it was a good feeling because I know that's true. I know that's true. I know that's true because I see so many of you quitting on yourselves and might not look like I'm packing up my business and I'm going and getting a job type of quitting, but I'm not going to invest just yet. I'm not going to make that move just now, or I want it to be this, but I'm going to do it like this until. And you're making these micro decisions that just move you further away from your goal instead of moving you forward. I had a message from a past client the other day and it was so lovely. She said something along the lines of, "Oh, I love it when you're making moves." And it's like, yeah, me too, because the energy behind it is it's just so lovely and powerful and grounding and all of those things. And I want you to move in that same way. I want you to use intuition as your guide. I want you to trust